through some changes. It's a roster that had the stability of Prano, a very young gunner that was brought in with a few question marks, but his IGL work and his drive on the diffuser has been a very good meter for Rogue.
My goodness, that percentage of community vote is very, very lopsided. I don't really understand why. I don't think a lot of people have seen Liquid in a while.
Because Liquid has a big fan base.
Yes.
Liquid has a historic following. There's a lot of love for Liquid. I'm assuming the chat is already lighting up with a lot of love for Liquid.
So, here's a quick rundown. If you haven't seen Liquid since last Invitational, they are the runners-up from the last Invitational.
They were.
They didn't win Mexico, which was supposed to be their event. I think a lot of people said this is their event to win. Then they made the big changes. 2 players gone, 2 players in. Didn't even make it to Sweden. Didn't even make it. They had the chance to play against NIP, to go to Sweden, and it was a very bad performance from Liquid on that day. And then NIP went on to Sweden. We've seen what they did in Sweden, and now we're back here again. I think a lot of people still need to see more of this roster. I know I do, and I'm not completely sold on them at the moment.
I think this will be a good game to get a first taste of it, though, because you've got to look at what these two rosters bring when they're at their best. And, okay, if you're from the LATAM side and you're from the EU side, you have your own perspectives, but here is the sort of basic rundown. It's a couple of huge gunners with a core support system underneath. On the side of Liquid, you have Palu and you have Nesk, 2 of the best players that have ever touched this game in everybody's books. It really doesn't matter what team you're a fan of, they are unquestionably 2 of the best players that have ever touched this game. They're on the same roster. It again harps the idea of them being the best roster that had never won it. These are 2 of the best players that are very much well within that, just in terms of putting people down on a map. On the flip side, you have Aces and you have Leon, 2 huge gunners. Again, they don't quite have the same sort of history as Nesk as Palu. They haven't played on the same roster for as long, but when they are on their game, or when they've been on their game, Leon in his sort of classic era on Secret, or Aces when he's been able to have those chains of games where suddenly he is the rated #1 or #2 in EU, it's seeing how these 2 pairs can go up against each other in that gun game, whilst the rest of the support structure make sure that they can give them the ground to play.
Don't forget about Cryan.
That's it.
So don't forget about him. He's someone who also came into this roster. We've seen him a bit of a stint during the G2 time, and didn't really work out for him. Over to a new team, and things really started to gel with him. So that's another player I'm interested to see how he's going to do this tournament. But I think the biggest thing with Rogue is they're under no pressure whatsoever.
Oh, no.
No pressure. All pressure. Liquid, your runners up. That's going to be that's the second most pressure you can have coming back to an event.
It's an unfair bit of pressure, I think, on Liquid, because, as we said, they run it up, but it's also different people in the roster. It's 3 of the same in PSK, Nesk and Palu, but otherwise it's a bit of a swap round. Resets. One of the new players, going to see if they can try and find their way through here. Ask generally does most of the carry lifting on that diffuser, on that kit, and getting it into the site as well. And that's one of the differences between the 2 teams, is you'll see Prano doing it, but Prano finds himself in and amongst the action generally a lot more than Ask does.
Looking now in towards the opening of our first defense. We'll be down in towards that basement, and, well, fairly standard for Liquid. You've sweeped throughout the kind of big tower, now in towards the meeting. They've got the hatch open for them, which is obviously going to be a good start. That gives them their main vocal point. This is where they're going to try and orientate a lot of their attacks around. They'll probably now start to rotate towards blue. As the Ask with the diffuser, he's going to be rotating towards that side of the map. So, yeah, everything kind of run of the mill. The only thing Liquid haven't done is they haven't actually went for the hunt onto the players inside a kitchen. I see that Leon's still crouch walking around. You've got Cryan upstairs as well, so there is still a bit of a presence that Rogue can apply. The real question is, are Liquid going to respect that, or will they just try and soft hold? Will they just try and sit back and just wait for the Rogue players to come sniffing?
Well, as we start to hear, a bit of the pressure popped in. They've been able to get the elbow control, and with the mute jammer there, they're not going to get much. Oh, they are. The Thatcher is going to be able to buy them just a sec. Not even the Thatcher, even.
It's the way the mute jammer's been changed.
Oh, yeah,
you don't have that big globe now.
My angle on that.
It doesn't
I
extend.
thought that was at the bottom of the wall, but it was at the top.
It was at the top.
I misread that from the verticalities. My mistake, but the mistake here is otherwise going to be made as the approach comes through. They're concerned about the top of E-Box. They're concerned about somebody dropping around underneath them,
of course.
Because this is the control that they handed over.
Leon will find a kill, and this is where you worry for Liquid, because that roam game, it starts to affect them. Aces swings on the E-Box, also find another kill. And now Liquid, the soft clear hasn't really worked for them. There's Cryan, another roam kill happens for them. This idea of Liquid where they just let the roamers do whatever they want, they don't care. Well, actually, it looks as if that you maybe should have respected the roamers because it's cost you the round.
Well, resets now. The only one sort of left on the pillar, trying to play some modicum of control here. Can't get the connection either way. Gets one down the corridor, but it's the freeze of the misconnection the first round. Goes into the favor of Rogue. It was a little bit of a standard start there for Rogue.
Rogue did nothing special.
Exactly.
That was just, yeah, you won a round. I can't really pinpoint what was the moment, what's seen them over the round. It just... Roamers did their job. Like, that's it. I suppose it's less impressive because that's what the Roamers are supposed to do. That's their job, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm getting into Roy King territory. But that's it. That's their job. That's what you expect from them. It's no crazy play. You just, yeah, they're upstairs. We'll try and kill them. You've killed them. Oh, okay. Well, good. Good job. Well done. That's it.
Congrats.
It's more the pressure is on Liquid. Why do they try and just soft hold it? Isn't it much easier for Liquid where we know they have this frag of power? You know, you've hyped up Nesk and Paulie and what they can do, look. Why are you not utilizing them? They're terrifying. Nobody wants to play against them two.
Oregon itself, as a map, hasn't really been a huge play for Rogue. For a map that does have a lot of success in EU, generally,
yeah, it
hasn't been a huge thing. But I think that's the thing about it, is if you look at a bad map for a team, but it's one that they sort of play frequently, usually in a region, if it's a strong map for a region, they'll still have a decent game because they've got to have a decent game on it. They've got to have a decent Oregon to be able to step it up. Every team at SI will have a bit of a map pool, a little bit of a deeper map pool than within a standard league play as well, but nobody's shy on Oregon. And I think that's the thing here, as you said, we need that extra from Liquid to push this over the point and sort of define this as, yeah, it's a good map for you and statistically worse for them, but prove it.
Mm-hmm. Straight up to the top floor now is where we head for Rogue. In terms of defense changes, see Maestro come in, which is always a great operator. Even though Valkyrie is open, still rocking the Maestro is a little bit surprising, but I suppose maybe they think they can get some more uses out of the Maestro, maybe try and zap off some gadgets, just anything at all. You know, I've seen the odd time a Maestro camera being tucked into that kind of closet wall and just zap off their banner pellets as they start being opened up. Not going to be the play, though, from Rogue. Instead, the impact trick actually comes in from Prano.
They're going to see if they can try and maybe apply some pressure to the side a little bit sooner than they did before. Obviously, for all the work that they had structurally onto the basement push, there wasn't the bodies to match it up. The fact that they were still cautiously checking up towards the E-box hatch, they need some more solidity. They need to know that they've been able to put some pressure onto Rogue's players itself. So that starts with a bit of a drone game. That starts with trying to hunt them out, and that's why they've been able to pick up the Lion alongside the rest of the pressure. Leon on one side, Ace is just sort of camping around underneath, is able to easily take care of those Hibana pellets, and you assume at some point PSK might be able to put some pressure, but look at Cryan. Deep roam.
Somebody should be down here, kicking around, making sure the Aces just can't do that. You know, I think one guy in Garage would be the perfect position. It stops anyone rotating below. Obviously, then it kind of covers off the jungle area, and then anyone who maybe wants to try and go for a C4, which you know is a possibility. That shuts it all down, but as we've seen from the first round, Liquid, again, are happy enough to give that control over to Rogue. They're not really worried about the roamers, but if anything like the last round happens, who's to say that the roamers won't go hunting?
Nesk sat inside there for the past minute around dining area. It's waiting for Leon to do something, but you can't just sit and wait. You need to put some pressure. So here, it might start to come through. The mix of the smoke stops the intent approach. They haven't been able to get their hands, and look, they're back in classroom underneath by the looks of it. That is Rogue retaking the previous spots in space. There it is. Aces is free to re-enter the place he was before. Prana goes down on the pressure onto the side itself. Another EE1D, and it's suddenly been a big fight here across the top. They've been able to take control of Attic, and, well, there's Parlu doing a bit of business there across the crossfire.
Leon!
There goes Leon. A C4 drop from underneath, takes care of the diffuser. Leon is all that's left, a 3 versus 1, 20 seconds. Should be an easy recollect the first fight. Walked right into it. Nesk had the lockdown. He may have stayed stoic for most of the round, but he locks it off with a win.
My goodness, Liquid. Again, I don't know if I feel too confident with how they played that. Again, showed too much respect to the roamers. Downstairs, Ace has been able to impact trick off the banner pellets. They couldn't get in the main breach. That's an issue already. And Ask had to go for a very reckless play, Fluke, and that is walking into the bomb site. Admittedly, the fact that Rogue has allowed Ask just to walk in is already a surprise. So yeah, Liquid, honestly, very lucky that Rogue didn't shut that down, because realistically, Rogue, they should be shutting that down.
They should. It was that sort of play where we complemented a lot of what Rogue were doing, and Rogue had so much space and confidence. I guess you can, if you wanted to put on a very vague pair of glasses, say opportunity and space is something that the Latin American region has been very good at across the year. It's the reason for a lot of people's books why they've been so successful in this attacker meta is they see space and they take it. And that was, they saw space and they took it from the two new players, obviously Resets and Ask, being able to drive their way across from Trophy straight round the corner.
Doubling up, refragging each other if needed,
It was really, really well played, but I want to see a little bit more snappiness about it. I want to see a little bit more confidence about it, because up until that point, they were still quite lost. You still had Nesk sat waiting on the far side of dining. You still had a player curious about what was going on underneath in Classroom. It wasn't well put together.
I think for Rogue, I wouldn't say they're too aggressive. I still think they're showing good respect to Liquid. You know, yes, there's roamers below, but it's not as if the roamers are challenging, sticking their heads out of every window or rapidly running up staircases. They're still respecting Liquid because they know the kind of playstyle Liquid have. Gunners galore, definitely. So to see Rogue then maybe switch up, maybe they might be thinking, you know what, they're actually respecting us too much. Why don't we just try and really go for their own game? And maybe go for that aggro playstyle. Maybe go for the jumpers. Like we mentioned, Rogue have absolutely nothing to lose. They can do whatever they want this tournament.
That's it. So, 2 bodies on this window and a C4 in the hand of one, but they're probably able to shoot it out if it goes for a bit of a swing. There's the flash, there's the catch, there's the throw. No blow. It was caught out pretty easily, and Cryan is able to keep surviving. There is still obviously some utility and a bit of a shield and a cover on a swing. There's an attempt at the side of an Iana, but she's able to survive unscraped. They also have obviously the extended player just inside the small box, but it's waiting for the first flood to come through against either of them. Leon has Cryan, but Leon has no one else apart from that really, and at that point, you're just sort of in that position to die.
Rogue are doing a great job. Wasting a lot of time, utility. You know, laser gates are being, or I suppose Tim's in this, laser gates. Acceptable? Is that okay?
It's way better than mine.
Tim's gonna, as soon as I walk off, he's gonna get a fist right through my face. But they're doing well. They're making sure that utility still being actively recovered, and really Liquid stand still more than anything. You know, they're stalling a little bit here. They're looking at maybe changing up their ideologies. They're going towards Big Tower, looking towards maybe Green Window. I don't know if this is the greatest right now from Liquid, and where on earth is Aces off to?
Okay. 2 punishments that come through very quick. Cryan, the connecting player, and they've been able to flood their way into sight. Palu takes the drive, and again, this synonymous play into space. They see it, they take it, the diffuser's going down. Rogue, how did it start so well? You suddenly just throw everything to the window and the wall. It is entirely taken away from you. Leon, you're trying to creep your way back. You're revealed anyway by the missteps. You've just got to see if you can play and fight your way out of it. There's a single player on the connection, and as soon as you go a little bit too wide, that happens. They had the cover there from Ask. The verticality's removed from them as well. It's all down to Prano in a 5 versus 1. He's going to see if he can get 1 out of it. With the E1D though, he's not going to get much further than 1. Liquid push themselves ahead.
Lights are on, but there's nobody home.
For now, it's the first game. And I'm going to keep sort of having that just for a few rounds because that was handed to Liquid.
Liquid did not start off well. Couldn't even clear a small tower hold. Small tower hold if you're going for that setup. If you're a defender and there was 2 of them, 1 on the stairs, 1 in the office, your whole objective is to waste time, waste utility, maybe get a kill, and inevitably die.
Exactly.
Whoever plays there, you have to sign a will, and you just have to accept that you will die in this position. That is
great knowing you.
It's inevitable. Liquid couldn't even do that. Liquid didn't even get close. Nobody, I think it was, Leon and Cryan upstairs, weren't even phased at all. Liquid then, they rotate with about, minute 20 to go towards a green take into kitchen. You're literally forcing everything into a single doorway.
And the main thing about that was they were about to pull off and go elsewhere. Palu had started to rotate to a different
They didn't know. They didn't know what they wanted to do.
They didn't know what they wanted to do. And then, you know, sometimes those siege stars align. Aces charges out of a door, looks the other way, and Palu's handed a freebie. That suddenly gives them a clear sight down the back of kitchen and straight into the corridor. Oh, we can do this now. If that hadn't have happened, if that one sort of difference hadn't have come together, if Aces hadn't have thrown himself out that door, That would have been another 15 seconds wasted. They might have had a fight elsewhere, but that still is a fight, not a slaughter and a free entrance with a red carpet.
Yeah, we're going to keep talking about this for, I would say, the entire 2 weeks, Fluke, but it's this meta where if you see a space, you have to take it. Yeah. And Liquid are doing that extremely well. In 2 rounds in a row now, they see a space and they've made it bigger.
Okay, Rogue, can you try and replicate what you're able to do pretty cleanly? And I think that's the thing that we had about this. The comments that we had on the first site hold was, it wasn't exceptional, but it was good. It was what you sort of needed to do. They weren't pressured by Liquid. And I think because of that, Liquid couldn't quite get the connection when it came to it. Arguably, these are the problems where Liquid aren't really building their own pressure. It's more Rogue are just sort of making mistakes, and Liquid's preparation is able to punish them.
Yeah, Liquid, again, like I mentioned, just haven't looked good so far. Nothing that's really said, oh, wow, that is... Ooh, that's good. I think everything is just down to, oh, Rogue's made a mistake, and Liquid have executed onto that.
Exactly.
But that's always going to be consistent, because as deeper Liquid, hopefully, I'm sure, get into the competition, they'll start coming against your damn ones, your FaZe. You know, those are the teams that they'll not give you anything. They'll not give you a single thing. Then what do Liquid do? Liquid then, they have to create a mistake, don't they? They have to make their enemies trip up, rather than almost waiting for Rogue to kind of trip on the imaginary banana peel.
Slight difference in terms of the approach for now, but still with the E1Ds that head over the top as PSK tries to get a little bit of...
What a classic operator for Liquid.
I know, famously so. And here, well, they're trying to see if they can pull themselves towards that coveted crown they've never been able to get as of this situation, and it's the start on this approach.
Early reinforcement, an elbow from Prano right away. As soon as those castle barricades get opened up, he's like, you know what? I don't really have the utility inside of elbow, no shield, no real ADSs being stacked up. Let's just reinforce off, slap the mute jammer, and let them figure it out. Polu will open up, Cryan goes down. All of Rogue are on the bomb site this time. This is different. Rogue are just swinging into these angles. There's 3 players stacked up outside of blue right now, Fluke, and they're just falling to it. In comes the horde of Liquid, straight in towards E-Box. Still 45 seconds to go as well, so plenty of time for them to figure out what they want to do. And all pressure's on Rogue.
I think that's it. For all the sort of things we said about Liquid not being able to just open their own aggressive lead-ins, they are so good at punishing them when they're seeing opportunities. And that's entirely that movement, is they're able to get that kill and then look at all of Liquid go. If they can find the confidence to push themselves here, this could be a much quicker game. They're going to see if they can build that, though, with 1 more, and 2 C4s dropped over the throw there, and Ness gets 1 of his own. It's just down to Rips, Court, and Freezer. They know exactly where he is. It's a flawless and a 3rd in a row for Liquid.
Now, I know what we mentioned about, okay, it's all about looking for mistakes and looking for spaces and then exposing them. That is very much Liquid, vintage Liquid, isn't it? It's these flawless rounds where everything is taken methodically and so in depth, and they just have these onslaughts of kill after kill and nobody can respond, because I think the biggest thing with Liquid is they never put their players in positions where they're going to get caught out easily. They're always in strong, you know, head glitch positions where you know it's going to be difficult for somebody to swing you and maybe get the kill. They're always set up in the correct fashion for, and that's where we see, I think Liquid, I can't name how many flawless rounds I've seen from Liquid over my time. I feel as though it's been the team that I've seen the most flawless rounds from.
I think that's it. I think, obviously, we're always going to shine a light on mistakes because they're quite prevalent. We're going to shine a light on the successes as well. And, you know, Liquid, when they have that energy to push onto a side, it's great. But it's finding the spark. They seem to be missing it right now, and I think Rogue, they're obviously giving them too many of these. They are sort of handing them firelighters, putting down a trail and a fuse and saying, this way to our bomb site. It's not good, and this is their time to talk it out. This is their time to sort of bring the pace back down, because I know at the beginning you said they're giving a fair bit of, you know, they know it's Liquid, they know it's dangerous, you have to approach the Tiger in the correct way, but don't start offering it things. Don't start giving it these little freebies and snacks to see if it can do anything. If it is being lackadaisical, let it sleep.
What a great analogy. You've compared Liquid to a sleeping tiger, is that, or
a sleepy tiger?
Okay, and then Rogue, or just what, a person? Just
Rogue is a person that's come that's like, oh, there's a tiger, and then instead of just being happy that the tiger's over there and then they can leave with all their limbs, they've gone, what if I throw at something? And they've went a little bit too close, and the tiger's seen an opportunity.
I don't know if I'm down the rabbit hole of Frid Looking Glass sometimes with you. I don't know.
Welcome back to A Desk with me. 3-1. 3-1 Liquid. You've turned what was a pretty mess start into what has been 3 successive rounds, and I can't take that away from you, but I still want to see more, because we know what you're capable of.
Exactly.
That's always it. When people say, how are you measuring them, it's always against themselves.
I almost want to see Rogue just go gun-ho and then see how Liquid do with that pressure. Because if you give Liquid the time to set up, they'll obliterate anyone. Doesn't matter who it is. You have to be able to shut down their space early. I think that's one thing that LATAM teams this season done really well against Liquid is they put them under pressure.
Yeah.
If you put the pressure on, especially Ask and Resets, where they are these new people, I think it's expected for especially young players. That pressure will get to you, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, Fluke. Crying with the spawn peak. That's Ask gone, that's the Habana gone. That's going to cause Liquid a lot of issues for this basement.
That's it. It takes it out of that mantle. You can see that obviously the previous round, they were all down underneath. They waited for Liquid to get control of the site and the buildings itself and trusted they could take the fight. They cannot trust that, so instead they've gone with a little bit more of a fall approach, and that we trust that you'll fall right into our trap. There's a spawn peak. Now we still have 3 players that are playing up above all around Zulu. These E1Ds are popping much earlier. It gives them a little bit more mobility to push away from them, because still Ascent Court elsewhere is one that you can play into.
Oh, C4 is being detonated, but nobody from Liquid will fall. But Paulu, using the C4 holes, instead will find 2 of his own, and Liquid have pulled back. They're now in the lead in the man count. Rogue giving away 2 kills there. Both roamers gone, and the C4s, they didn't connect well enough. Still, Aces is upstairs, though, inside of meeting. The hatch is open for him, and it's really bad, actually, that the hatch is open for Liquid, considering who Crying Spawn Peak being that Habana.
It was a gamble. You never really know what you're going to do, and if you're going to go with a tool hole, it's going to be one that you just sort of hope that you can keep a little bit more success. Going for the refrag from a reverse vertical is never going to be easy, because you've got to entirely align to a new angle. They've just got to keep the one that they already held. It sort of hands it to you through the bars. But Palu is trying to see through 2 stories, just missed a little bit of a handshake there across the both to the bottom, and that was one that he was obviously handed before. Sometimes Lady Luck goes in your favor, sometimes away, Palu.
So Resets, looking for that laundry hatch is what we're up to now for Liquid, and again, time management slowly slipping away. They need to get a bit of a move on and really need to try and control these staircases. It looks as if we're going to see a double flank maybe. Rips creeping up in towards Freezer. Ace is also up there, and Rips is able to find his kill and very swiftly right back down. Aces, he needs to make a big play. Look, he needs to get in the mixer, but never mind. Rips is popping off. A triple kill for him. Paulu, the last man alive. He finds that refrag, but still 2 more to find. Oh, is able to dodge the impact grenade, and actually I think it was a smoke canister, wasn't it? Paulu now slipping away in towards the bomb site, fires a nade out, makes a bit of a movement now from the smoke. Paulu swings in, 15 seconds to go. Back comes Aces. Oh, what on earth is Prano after? Paulu with a quad kill, 1 more for the Ace, has no idea where the Legion is, maybe he has a suspicion. Fires the nade in, but oh, this is great though from Aces, runs all the way back. Knows that Paulu doesn't have the diffuser. Wow, what a wise play from Aces.
Got out of there. Got out of there, head for the hills, because at that point you've got to know
whenever Paulu's on a rampage, you get out of there.
Paulu's on a quad kill, and you're the 5th name in a server, get out of there.
It's almost as if Ace has seen Prano die. It's like, I'm out, I'm not, bye, bye.
Like the peace symbol, and then just the fade away. Like, gone. And okay, that was better from Rogue, because what we saw there was as you wanted. They were pushing against Liquid. They weren't pulling back into the site and pulling back into that problem area. Even when things had sort of gone away from them, they then went on a huge rotate. Yeah. We saw Rips push up. That bought some space, and that allowed Aces to go on a bit of a venture. Sure, he didn't get anything from it that was a kill, but he got the most important thing.
Got at the bomb site as well, to be fair.
A round win.
Yep, he got out. Wasn't going to die, and that's really all Rogue needed to, was make sure somebody's alive. Liquid, again, it seems to be the issue that Liquid have had for the past year. It is, yes, they are so dominant. If you give them the setup, flawless rounds, yep, they will guarantee you that nearly every single map. And I think the issue that kind of Liquid ran into was the adaptability maybe wasn't as good as what it could be. That's maybe why then we start seeing the changes we see Ask and Resets comes in, and they're supposed to be the answer to this new generation, being able to adapt to any situation. Because a lot of the time for Liquid, if they got the opening death, the round was done for them. They couldn't do anything. The entire machine breaks down. And we kind of seen that it gives them that adaptability. There's been a few times in the regular season where things have went horrific for Liquid, and Ask and Resets have clutched up like a 2 versus 4. So it kind of gives you an option. And I think we've seen a glimpse of that. You lose your Habana straight away. That's a massive hit.
Oh, yeah.
And Liquid still almost winning that round. So we can start to see that progress from Liquid, but it needs to be better if they want to win a championship.
Can Rogue be able to pull it back just to even splits? Again, you know, this isn't their map choice, and it's not a great map for them and a good map for Liquid, but at the same time, being able to put pressure early on, be able to punish these teams as they're still waking up. It's the first day of competition. Nobody has a smooth first day of competition, ever. It's when your nerves are high. You've been building up to this for a year, and it starts today, and it starts shakily for most people, but it's building that confidence into it, and confidence was the previous round. Aces is underneath in Classroom, as he was able to cause some punishment and do some destruction before. He'll probably be contested a little bit earlier, you would hope, and that might be the role of Nesk, who's currently eyeing up Armory though, but it will give him some security with PSK actually opening up a split as well. They might just be like, well, we're going to push Trophy again, because to be fair, it worked.
It did. I hope that they respect Aces though. I want to see someone down there. I want to see maybe Nesk go for a bit of a wander. We know what the Brazilian Terminator can do, and he can do many, many things. And I just want to see him take it to Aces. Because Aces, again, he knows that Liquid have been playing quite passive. He's happy enough to go back down there again. He'll tell his team, I don't mind going down there. I know they'll not go near me. And Liquid, again, they've lost some breaching power there. They have managed to burn through the impact nades, but again, PSK, he's all out of Selma charges, so they don't have any real other options apart from we have to now push from Generate. There's no other way.
They do obviously still have the Habana. They've sort of doubled up there with the hard destruction. It gives them a bit of width, and it's not the most kind of...
Why isn't Habana over an attic?
Exactly.
This is what I'm saying. They're committing to this side.
Well, there's Aces able to at least do a little bit to break it. Took out the middle one to make it awkward to pop through, and Resets is in the position he was in last time, where, hey, remember how this went last time? He threw himself into the fight, drove the team through, and went, here's some free fights, let's take it. We're in the site now with the diffuser. They're picking themselves up. They're going to see if they can get a rotate. Rogue are a little bit more aware of this, playing the smoke at arm's length. They pulled themselves back into the opposite side in the main dorms rather than the kids' side, as it slowly gets absolutely devastated. Ask, though, finds one, screams his way across. Nesk is able to get one more. Ask is free to just stand in the midst of the site. It's all white stairs. There's Leon with a bit of a crossfire. He slips on by. How is he allowed to do that, Rogue? He should not be able to just sprint, hesitate in the middle of your site, and then take another fight on somebody holding a single angle crossfire.
I love the position from Resets, because Resets obviously looking in towards the attic. That's where he wants to get himself into. And they used the Habana to open up the attic wall to make sure that nobody was playing inside a pit. As soon as Pip's clear, he can jump in the window. No pressure at all. You don't have to try and maybe go through the attic, and then somebody could be in meeting using that hatch from below to try and pick you off as you walk across. You can jump in safely for the window, and then you have pit control. And if you have pit control, everything else just gets alleviated. You have no pressure then for defense, holding on to somebody, sprinting in through Trophy. It's very, very difficult. And yeah, Liquid, I think, just played to their strengths, pretty much. They had everything controlled, they knew what they wanted, and they did it.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bomb.
2-4. 2-4 is now the deficit. The Rogue has to see if they can try and pull back. We're going to start down in Laundry once again. We have a fairly standard mix of operators. The only one that might sort of jump out is Nesk on the Warden, obviously with the idea that there could be some blinds and some flashes. You put that Warden inside elbow, and suddenly you have a lot more longevity there with the guns that he's got. Also, it's Nesk with an MPX. Uh-oh, in anybody's books.
Yeah, Warden is always the operator that we say was built for a different meta. And that, of course, referring to the Glass Ying meta from a long time ago.
I mean, we saw Elevate play it earlier today.
But yeah, it's an operator that obviously has its uses, but if Ying was more prevalent, yeah, you'd see him a lot more of the time. But sadly, the days where Vitality we're the conquerors of that kind of play style way back in, what, 2018, 2019?
It was a while ago,
something like that.
Thankfully. Last entry.
But here, we're stuck with Warden now, and, you know, he has his uses. I think Bank, we see him a few times on the kind of the server stairs, and really anywhere that you know there's going to be a barrage. Anywhere like that, yeah, you stick him there.
And that's Elbow. And in some cases, Freezer as well. Obviously, they have the mirror windows. They have that extension. You can put one on the standard old school box. You can rotate it onto E-box or have it looking into Freezer if you want and sort of dip and dive behind the bomb chassis. But somebody who cannot be blinded in a power position like that, where it's generally short form fights anyway, it's good. Leon's been quickly able to get himself to the kitchen corridor. It's being droned ahead by Prano to see if they can find a fight, but otherwise it's been handed over to them. Takes care of the camera, goes for the lock-off, and I guess wants a little bit of security as they approach themselves onto the E-box hatch.
So Rogue just figuring out, this is kind of like their stage 2 droning. You know, first stage, make sure the map's clear, no roamers. Stage 2, figure out the key points to the defense. Right now they're probably looking and thinking, okay, we've got mirror windows, boys. What are we going to get up to? And I would say for Rogue, they shouldn't really fear the mirror windows. They have a Twitch, probably for that reason. So they should have no issues eliminating that very strong gadget that Mirror can bring into the game. It's going to be a little bit trickier to get Polus, of course, because it's a little bit more deeper, but certainly Freezer is what they're kind of aiming for, because honestly, if you are able to take control of the Freezer mirror, you can maybe also just stem your attack from Freezer, because then the Laundry guy can't really do much to you.
Well, this makes Kairos taken out quite easily, but there is Leon taken out on the stairs at the same time. The swing comes through. PSK is able to keep himself in the power position because they couldn't quite get any of the solidity. That, I'm not entirely sure if that caught the shield on the backside, but the smoke's going to make sure they can't back it up. No, I believe it's still standing inside Laundry. They have their swing onto that hatch if they need it, and with just over a minute left, Ace is going to see if he can take up the mantle on the opposite side. But without anything else there, they're still logged in.
Nest can be very deadly whenever smokes are being brought to the lineup from Rogue, and they're going to try and cover off some of their pushes. They could be very scary going up against the glasses wearer in Warden. So we'll see if Nest can find anything at all using the gadget. But right now for Rogue are actually slowing down, and really at this stage they should be ramping up. The gunfight should be coming in thick and fast, but sadly it's not happening for them. A double push is also coming in from Freezer, and one guy in the E-box hatch, one guy pushing down towards the back stairs. I don't know, Rogue, they seem a little bit disjointed here, Fluke.
It's 20 seconds, and Liquid are playing with the idea of getting more aggressive. Kryne goes for a hot drop, and Rips is able to take one more. Oh, look at this. Flooded all over the top, find themselves locked in on Freezer. Kryne and Reset trade each other out on the main door, and it's just Palu on the far side with a mirror. The diffuser's got into the tucked-in corner. It's down to Rips to keep this cover. Does it?
Wow.
And Rogue are able to, in 20 seconds, suddenly flood and fuel their way through Liquid.
That's just the, let's go. That's all that is, and you just have to win your fights. And they did it.
They did it.
And they did it. There's nothing else you can analyze. It's always going to be risky, because that could have ended in tears.
Oh, very
It could have
easily.
ended, but thankfully for Rogue, the guy stepped up, they won their engagements, and now they're sitting here around date with their first attack win. And it is strange, actually, to see an attacker-sided Oregon for a change. Generally, this is defender-sided. 4-2 is kind of the go-to split for defense.
I think it's always the meta at the minute. It's something we've seen on international stages as well, is attack has had a little bit of a growth, a little bit of a boon. It used to be that the defense was what was tested. The defense was what was put together. For a long time, the meta of Siege was built around it. Now, it still technically always is, but it's got a growth. It's lent more into gunfights and aggression, which, if you have a good, sharp spear, you can throw that into any angle on a site, and it will do some damage. It didn't used to be that way. It didn't used to be that you could sort of be a bit malleable in your attacks. In the words of Fresh, who was obviously an analyst during that slower time, he would love to be an analyst and a coach for a team in the current meta, because on the attack, you can do so much more than what you used to be able to.
I think the big thing with attackers at the moment is nearly every lineup will work for most things. And that's just because I think burn meta. You know, where obviously Wamai got, some nerfs as well, didn't he? And, shields kind of got changed around with operators. There's not as much to burn for anymore. And that means that nades are more favored. And it's always good to know that whenever you want to bring nades, is that Iana and Finka are two of the best entries right now just because of their weapons also. So their kit in general, it's class for this kind of meta that we're dealing with, where you have a strong entry, where you have strong guns, and you also have the nade. That's why Ash isn't really picked as much because she doesn't have any nades, she doesn't have any other threat, and also the main gun is
it got nerfed.
That's like the main causes that we're dealing with right now.
It noticeably dipped.
Same with even Sophia. Sophia, what a drop off.
Oh yeah. And then Iana was the pickup, and then Finker, and yada yada, the cycle repeats. Talking of cycles, there was lessons learned earlier about the job that a Rotero drone can do, and Rips finds at least a spot there, but I don't think they expected it to. I think they thought it would get dropped by resets on the swing round, so instead utilized it for a little bit more intel and found a bit.
No shield from Liquid inside of Elbow, which is a bit strange because they do have a shield. They have one on Smoke, that's kind of the go-to. But nope, not really interested in Elbow. Actually, it's something that Rogue did as well. Rogue had no intention of holding Elbow. As soon as anything kind of come near a drone, a barricade, straight up goes the wall, reinforced. That's it, they're happy enough with that. But Liquid still, even though there's drones coming in, they know that they're kind of after this Elbow control, not giving up too soon.
Nesk is in the position I talked about before. There goes a little bit more damage from the floor as a man who is just steadily going to pick apart that hold there. PSK is under a bout of pressure from the drop round on the grenades on the backside of the tower stairs. The drones are coming through, they're self-droning, and it means a canister has to be popped around the same time it was before, but this time you hear E-Box wall being popped open, I think, without any sort of countenance. The spray comes around, they couldn't quite get the lock in that they otherwise wanted here, and it's going to be a flood behind another drone. Are they going to take the fight on the other side? They don't feel confident. Rogue's still setting up. They've done it in 20 seconds before. Why not make sure they're confident at the same time?
It's a risky game plan. We mentioned it before, Fluke. You have to win the gunfights, and if you don't, it's not going to work for you. So Rogue, they still have one player creeping around, I believe, in towards Freezer, and Cryan, he has to make a big play. He's the one who has to try and slip in and really upset these Liquid players, but with Nesk, who's still able just to swing with that MPX, picks one off, but here comes the kills. Aces with 2 kills. And there's Ask with a shotgun, and another, a double. The quick reaction from the Smoke makes that shotgun hurt for Rogue. And unfortunately for Cryan, like I mentioned, he came too late.
It was a great adaptation from Liquid. If you had a look at how that was structured, they wasted a lot of time in the same way they did before. But very importantly and very noticeably, around the minute mark, they realized Rogue is doing what they did before. And last time, it came from E-Box hatch. It came from a drop there. So they had themselves more attuned to the positions. Okay, they still had the player inside elbow. They still had that shotgun at the go. But look where Nesk was. He was ready for that drop. Look where the Smoke was 10 seconds before. He was smoking out E-Box. They knew that they didn't have to waste time in Freezer because Freezer was a misnomer. Freezer was nothing to what Rogue want to do in that final 30 seconds if nothing else has worked. And this time Liquid went, fool me once, I'm going to shotgun you like 3 times.
Defenders protect the bombs defused by
Rogue lose their first attack, and again, I suppose it just kind of proves that playstyle where you're almost playing that kind of bloodbath where it's just going to be all-out warfare. If you don't win the engagement, that's what happens. So we've seen kind of both sides of the coin, haven't we? Yeah, if it works, wow, you look really good as a team. If you don't, no, just no.
Nada.
So now we head upstairs. In towards that top floor is where we head to. Echo being picked up by Liquid. That's an interesting pickup, especially for top floor. I always think of Echo as, yes, a strong operator, but as an Echo person, you need to be able to sit in a safe spot. That's always like my big go-to, because if you die as an Echo, drones are only info. You can't actually use the gadget, and the gadget's so strong. How many times have we seen an Echo drone went around by stopping the diffuser?
Oh, so many times.
Too many to count. So if you are an Echo, you need to be able to find yourself in a safe position, tuck your way in towards a corner, and that's you happy. I look at this top floor and I think, nades from below. Where do you sit?
I would agree. I think the problem right now is Liquid has a very heavy hold below. And it seems like Rogue's aware of that. Rogue, they've doubled down. Resets and Nesk have the split here onto the entrance onto the Zulu corridor. Resets is actually going to pull himself further and further away. He's not going to overextend. That's 3 drones that Nesk has gone through over the past 10 seconds. And I think that's now picked up a player to join them on the far side, or it's Palu. He started to make his way over from tower, but he stopped just short of it and just shy of it to make sure nobody slips through onto the kitchen corridor side to entirely pinch Nesk. A huge amount of pressure. And this is exactly the opposite of Liquid, who sort of knew that there was play underneath, but instead went, well, let's leave them there. We're going to take the ground that we need on the second story. They barely touched the first on their approaches.
Yeah, they had no intention of this kind of west side clear out where they're trying to utilize nade from below. We know that Rogue, they wanted that, but never came for them. Never at all that Liquid seemed interested in clearing out Cryan or Leon, who was downstairs with the C4s. They knew if they can flood the site and they can just pick up their kills, then they won't have to worry about the players below. So Rogue, they have White Stairs controls. Aces is slip his way up, trying to get a nade, but unfortunately misses that one. Oh, a quick jiggle peek from Nesk. Aces quite lucky considering it is Nesk and how many times we've seen him with that gun skill. I say that. Leon isn't as lucky. He gets eliminated. Resets with a C4 kill. Rogue, oh, it's a bad start for them.
Double down and Geo Destruction either side. The pair is gone. And that really isolates Aces here on his stairs. He cannot push down, so he's got to see if he can support Cryan on the approach and the other whilst just making sure that he doesn't have somebody creep up on him. It's a consistent dance, and the first goes into his favor. Waits for the second swing, but it's actually going to come from elsewhere, which he predicted. Caught them, and that actually, in a favor, works finesse. One step further, that would have been potentially the end. Here, he can hold off, push a little bit later, cause a little bit more drama when there's a little bit less time. The swing round and the pop on the shield doesn't quite get it clean. There's Arse gone inside the site. They've been able to drive themselves through. They found a second. They found some success.
Wow.
They found a triple, and now it is just Nesk underneath. The C4 does not connect. Sounded like you might have tried a pre-fire there. Couldn't quite get it. They're not there either, I'm afraid. But he's sure at the top of the White Stairs. Aces with a quad kill to keep Rogue fighting.
So the attack that Liquid went for the top floor was, if there's rumors, we hit site like no tomorrow. It's happened to them.
It's happened to them.
Rogue have just done what Liquid's done, where they've seen, okay, let's just refrag, get the kills, in towards the top floor, let's not worry about the guys below, and they did exactly that. Aces steps up big time in that round and really drags his team through the mud. So, only one round apiece now. Very close game. How is it going to end up? Because I think Liquid, yeah, definitely have the potential to take this clean. But I don't know, I think overtime also starting to loom, isn't it? That shadow starting to be cast.
Honestly, if Rogue can get it to OT, even if they don't end up taking it, I think that's a huge thing. It is a lot of pressure to put onto a team early on, and I think it will give them a huge amount of momentum going into the second map. If they get into the second map on a loss, I think it's very different than getting into a second map on an OT loss. And it's not as bitter as it usually feels in this sort of setup and scenario, because it's the opening game against a fantastic team, as you generally expect at SI, but here, Liquid are just one away from securing themselves at least that overtime fight. And once again, they're doubling down on their site selection here. They've failed Laundry, fixed it the second time. Will they be able to repeat the magic on Dorms?
It is risky always going for that same bomb site whenever you didn't really defend it all too well, but I'm also a big believer in it's just one round. You know, if something happened in your defense, and especially in this game of Siege where luck can favor anyone, whenever one bullet into the head, well, that's you done. Like, you could get shot through 5 walls, and let's say you get headshot at that, still a kill no matter what. So I'm always a big believer that if things do go wrong, you still have the potential. Look at Cryan. He's thinking of slipping in, but doesn't actually commit, and will get taken down. Ask the Echo of all players as well. That's the person he shouldn't be peeking. Goes for the swing, and it's worked out beautifully for him.
There it is. There's another bit of a drop there. They saw the reveal inside Zulu, and Ace is going to pull himself back, but it could have been, obviously, this huge sort of play. Now, with 4 apiece and Parlu off the board as well, can they go for a little bit of the deep dive? They're seeing if they can get some security with a bit more width this time. They don't want to try and repeat the same approach because, to be fair, when they did that on Laundry, it was obvious. Liquid had learnt a lesson, and you assume that they've been able to set themselves up. Hey, look at that. Look at all those holes in the floor, and look at the slightly different position Resets is playing in. Yeah, they learn, and they learn so quick, and that is a terrifying thing when you're up against a team like that.
So what are Liquid going to do now as we start to kind of edge in towards that halfway mark of the round? They still have this attic hold, that Goyo shield alive and well. A couple of ADSs to try and keep PSK as safe as possible. But Rogue, for the meantime, happy enough just to take their time. Oh, that's going to be tricky for PSK. The Mute Jammer does not fully extend all the way over to the entire double wall, and 1 point of access will be opened up via one single Habana pellet. Don't really know what was going on there through Leon's head. Jumps in. Leon hasn't been having a good game. Look, he's supposed to be an entry and 4 and 10. Maybe this is where he needs to maybe just slow down a little bit. Wait for his team, perhaps.
It's the thing, Leon can be such a force, but he needs to find the right rhythm onto a game. And this isn't it.
And if he doesn't, it gets ugly.
Yes.
It does.
But Here is a man who had all the rhythm on the previous round, is going to see if he can try and bite one more body back, but with the rotation now that's come through, they have that back line, they have it all entirely covered, and there's not quite a clean way through. They're concerned, obviously, about the player onside the white stairs, and they're just seeing if they can build some semblance of an angle and approach here. Peppered and popped bullets either side, and, well, it's the C4 that stops the door onto Prano. Aces creeps his way through, and they're going to see if they can try and bite anything, but as Rips gets across, it's dropped very quickly, a double kill. Well, Assassin shotgun, and with PSK down, it's technically a 1 versus 3, but still, it's a 1 versus 3, 10 seconds. We are on map point.
Rogue struggling to gain control of Attic. I think losing Leon, I think they really relied on Leon getting that kill in towards Pit, then you would have had that man advantage, and then you have Pit control that opens up a lot of options for you. And yeah, you lose that one crucial kill, and Rogue just seemed stunned, didn't they? They had no real follow-up plan for that. This kill right here, this was really the deal breaker. And again, PSK, he knows he got that one kill, he can leave. He's done his job. They have that man advantage, he can fall back into deeper positions and just play as safe as they wanted to. And Liquid, I think they sweated them out, didn't they? They waited them out. As simple for them just to clean up.
Laundry supply. It's been a mixed bag of success, but Rogue, I mean, they've been able to take it once. If they can do it one more, then they're only one take away from getting OT. And as I said, that's an important point, an important part of the conversation of how far can you dig yourself into this game? How much can you take away out your opponent's best map? And I suppose in the guise of some of this framing, how much can you get warmed up for a best of 3 series? It's not just one dance. It's not one map. It's a full stretch. And if you get knocked on the first, sure, you're going to be, at best, walking away with 2 points, but it's better than 0.
It is indeed. It is indeed, and I think for Rogue, even against Liquid as well, would they be happy with a point? I mean, I think if you know Rogue, they want to win, you know, because I think they've suffered big loss streaks before, haven't they? Not just once, but twice. You know, we've seen the 0-9, was it the 0-1-1-9, whatever it was, in UL, something like that. But, you know, they've had these big, heavy losses to them.
I mean, they were almost relegated. They have been knocking on the door of being tier 2. It's a team that has been at the top and been undefeated, and then been at the bottom and been entirely defeated. Not even a whiff of success.
It's like that I have 2 moods, and then it's this Rogue and that Rogue. And I mean, Rogue, if we're kind of going off that tendency where if they get into a bad slump, it's a really bad slump. We don't want that to happen to them this SI, because then they could be going out first.
Leon is going to go for an approach round onto the tower stairs. The grenade is going to be the attempt on the bounce, but PSK is already long since pulled off. Ask is the rotation and the stretch onto elbow. They're going to see if they can go back to this early game. As I said, the adaptation came later on. They made sure that they could smoke out E-Box because they realized that if they can push Rogue to X time, then the Y game changes. And the Y game is the one where they found themselves no longer asking questions of why are they dropping in. They said, well, you're not getting much further than that. Rips gives them a little bit more of a stretch and a preparation. It seems Rogue are putting a little bit more intent focus on this side rather than the entirety of before, and it's how quick Liquid catch on. There's already been a rotation. Ask and PSK have changed places. The smoke is getting more aggressive onto tower stairs now.
Yeah, I think that shotgun, that's what they're kind of looking for, is that aggressive nature, but Ask, it doesn't work out for him. Leon, a bit of a switch as well, not on the Ana, onto the sledge is where he ends up, and that will get him a kill. So that's a good start for Rogue. They have the opening pick, they have the tower stairs control. Honestly, have pillar control also. If they get a drone down there, they're able to kind of see that, yep, nobody's on that position. And ideally, if you're Rogue, you want to try and eliminate Ness, because he caused you issues from that double door the last time.
Liquid's set up so flat right now, it's like they're trying to play an offside trap onto the site itself. They have entirely made an embankment. And there it is. The ball comes into play, connects with his own grenade, and Nesk picks up the pieces and locks it down. There's a reinforcement, but there is an attempt on his plan. With Nesk going into freezer, they're waiting for the rotation, but he makes it first, connects quickly, and now puts the pressure back into the 2 remaining Rogue players, Rips and Cryin. Seeing if they can creep their way around with the control that was otherwise previously offered, round on the top, but Liquid, they're not overextending. They have the crossfires, and they have their map.
Same issue again for Rogue. You will enable Nesk to play in that corner. That's his home. That is where he feels safe. and he just swings, he picks up the kills. The mechanical skill is always going to be there for one of the most top consistent fraggers that there's ever been in this game. He's going to do that week in, week out. I suppose, how do you stop that? How do you do it? Maybe don't age yourself. Probably a good start.
It's not the best lead-in, but it's map 1 of a best of 3 in its liquids. There's still some potential here for Rogue. It's going to take a bit of a team talk, but they are a team that's capable, as we said, of suffering the worst and bouncing back to the best, or sometimes vice versa. We'll find out, though. After a quick break, we'll be back with map 2. Hello and welcome back to this, the showdown between Rogue and Liquid, and we find ourselves one map deep, and it is in the team on screen's favor. Liquid take Oregon. Next stop, Dostoyevsky.
Into Russia we go. Kafe. It's been a map that LATAM are starting to work on, starting to implement into the regular season. And we'll see if Liquid are like their other compadres in the region, and we'll see if their Kafe is as good as maybe such as MIBR has been a big kind of patriot for bringing in Kafe. I think they were one of the earliest teams to do so. So yeah, I'm interested to see the Kafe pick. I really want to see what Liquid's got cooking in it.
Well, before we get into there, let's have a quick look. This is the map summary from the previous round, and the quickest way of putting it is a little bit flat from Rogue. It didn't open great for both teams, and we highlighted this. Liquid were able to sort of punish mistakes from Rogue, and then very well, that's not the best way of putting it, they then approached gaps in the hold very well. They saw mistakes, got the kill, got into sight, but they didn't create those mistakes. It was Rogue that slipped up. Liquid found that momentum, got some speed from it, and got themselves going by the end to lock it out 7-4, but Rogue never really found themselves.
I mean, if you look at Palu and Nesk, they're back at it again. These two are just, whatever it is about SI, they're absolute animals. And I know it's only map 1, and I'm seeing Palu and Nesk already start to show up, and I just think it's going to happen again, isn't it? They're going to drop 300 kills each this tournament. I don't know what it is. I have a feeling that might be in the cards. And this might be where they really start to rack up kills. And if they're on form and they're on game, there's nothing stopping Liquid having another grand final. Not a single thing.
Well, Rogue, obviously, you found your way here based on your most recent performance. It's not something that obviously was a consistency across the year from you. Unfortunately, consistency and Rogue never really goes together as a sentence and a sentiment, but recently you've been doing pretty well. And okay, it's the opening game and the opening play day, but it's always that sort of conversation of you will set your own pace here. You're in good spirits, Leon.
There he is.
And that's the thing that you like to see, because you want that to carry on. It wasn't a great start, and you have to be able to shrug that off.
Exactly.
But who else can do that as well as Rogue?
Rogue, what are they going to do on Kafe? For me, Kafe is going to be very different to Oregon. I think Oregon, you kind of have this structure where you have flexibility. There's different attacks that you can go for. You know, there's a good multitude of defenses, a multitude of attacks that were kind of being showcased by both sides. Kafe, for me, has always been linear. It has been you do this and you do that, and there's nothing else. It is very one-dimensional.
I think the thing that I like about Kafe is we started to really see it get re-energized last SI because of what LATAM was doing on it. There's things, especially that FaZe at the time were doing, were really quick, exceptional takes, which is obviously filtered into the rest of the region. They're a dangerous team on the attack. And sometimes the difference we see between them and EU teams is EU teams on their defenses can be a little bit flat, a little bit stoic. They'll play Echo and they'll hope that they can sort of trick enough time and play into the plants like that. They have some sharp moments. They have some sharp teams. But on their attacks is generally where they've been able to put some better distance in my opinion.
Keep in mind, last SI Consulate was still in the pool, and that was Liquid's fortress, wasn't it? They never, ever lost in that map. And, you know, Liquid, they've had to develop their other maps. They've obviously known that Consulate isn't here, we need to find something else. And I suppose Kafe is probably the closest thing you could get to Consulate. So if we're kind of going off that theory alone, this could be very, very good for Liquid.
It's always the tricky thing as well, because I dislike comparing a team that's had major changes. And okay, 2 players is a change, in not everybody's book is a major change, but how long was that roster together?
Yes, but I think whenever we do like the interviews and stuff for LATAM, and we're talking to the players, talking to the coaches of Liquid, they say that still, you know, they're integrating the young players into the lineup. It's not as if they're building it around the new players. The structure's going to be the same. The coaches are going to have the same mentality, same mindset. Yes, they're obviously going to tweak and adapt to the new meta, but you can still see that Liquid, they still want to play that perfect siege.
Yeah.
That still is always going to stick with them, but now they're at a stage where if the perfect siege doesn't work, they can still scrap it out because they've got an Ask and they've got an Resets who can pull out rounds out of nowhere.
I say we're probably going to see little plays with the Echo, and he's the first 6th pick onto the board. The change out for the Smoke is probably the most unexpected.
But is it, though, on this bomb site? You think about this bomb site. It is very rare that you'll actually see the plant go down.
It's true. It's also very rare that you connect a Smoke with a particular thing.
It's a big old site.
Yeah, exactly. And as soon as they get through Cigar Door, as soon as they've been able to get some pressure onto the balcony itself, what are you smoking out? And how deep is that going to be able to go? And if you're overextending to try and throw that, where the heck are you going to do it from without being shot? It's so limited.
It is.
But it's not uncommon to see. And I think, okay, if I say it's not the biggest sort of bait play, you look, I guess, at the extension with the Goya. It sort of plays that role. You'll probably see one at 90. You see one in the middle of the freezer. There it is. It gives you the ability to sort of play like a stacked tier defense. You hope they go for 90. And Pixel even, and then you pull back and you'll maybe put a bit of fight in the bathroom, but then you'll head over to the second one.
It's like an onion. Or an ogre, depending on if you watch movies.
Yeah, well, I do.
So you'd know it as an ogre. And the thing about Kafe, it's all about utility burn. I think this is honestly one of the worst maps that you can play as an entry because you don't really get to entry. Because it is all about you have to drop this hatch, you have to play into piano, you have to play into cigar shop. The entries, we've kind of touched on it before, the entries are really good because not only do they have really good guns, they have a boatload of utility. All that utility needs to get used on this top floor. Like you mentioned, you have those layers, you have to just peel it back bit by bit. And most of the time for like the entries, if you're looking at Nesk, if you're looking at Palu, they're going to be sat there cooking nades, gone sixes, whatever it is. They're not actually out there hunting for the kills. And it's almost the flexes and the supports who are kind of covering. As that utility gets dumped, people might go for a swing. That's who gets the kills. So it's really turned into much more of a sit and wait, and the defender just swing into you. But obviously defenders, quite rightly so, a lot of utility can be brought by attackers. Those nades start cooking into places such as Pixel, and you can't get out of there. You're a dead person. All you can do is swing.
Resets has been able to get himself into Cigar, and they get that top red open. It gives themselves a bit of a swing. This is the problem now. If Leon tries to pull himself back from this, you assume pressure's going to come through elsewhere. Hey, Flores, he makes quick work of the first. Hey, there's that second shield I talked about. This one will go next if they can get rid of that mute jammer. That's the risk and the bait. That's why there's ADS jammers on this one. So Palu can't just hoy a grenade in and get rid of everything, including potentially Leon. No. A bit more construction work has to be done, and it can't be done as cleanly as just dropping down, unless Leon makes a mistake and slips up. There's the pull. He wanted to play against that, but Leon actually moves away.
He has an ADS as well, so it is strange to see him maneuver. Obviously, Wamai being banned out by Rogue, it's going to put them at a bit more of a disadvantage. Maybe that's not why maybe that's why Leon wants to maybe fall back, because he doesn't have entire security and wants a flurry of flashbangs come in plus a nade, then he's just dead. So I think he's playing it safe as he can be. Still dies in the end though, so I don't know really how much that really matters, but still he's done a good job. He's wasted a lot of time, wasted a lot of utility, and now Liquid, they have 40 seconds to start executing onto the bomb site.
Neska's picked up the second from that opening there, a player being able to just, well, I guess freely step up to the mantle. Aces bites back. Two of them on Lumber with Cryin holding down on the stairs itself, but he can't quite get the connection with the upside down rappel, so has to pull further back. And now he's nowhere near the site itself. There's two bodies watching it. Ask as the diffuser going down on the site. He is being forced further and further back into a more uncomfortable situation. There's a ping on at least one, but it's a hot ping, so it is not a ping that is rewarded with a kill. Ask actually picks up, goes for a plant somewhere else, but we're not going to see it because Nesk just kept going.
Clinical from Liquid. It's something that they'll do quite a lot, Fluke, is obviously you starting off with that piano in towards red, yada, 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 burn for everything, but during around like a minute, they'll start rotating towards the east side over towards the other windows. Because naturally, Fluke, if all the Rogue players who are scattered around in towards freezer, in towards piano, whenever they start to fall back, start retreating, they're all going to be clogged up in that back bar area, in towards the white stairs. So if you have a couple of attackers sitting there, open arms, ready for those defenders, you can't be gifted free kills, and that's exactly what happened. Just that extra bit of pressure, Rogue then are getting hit in two fronts, and you can't defend against that.
No, you cannot. Okay, a bit of a false start there. They tried to play around with an idea, but...
False start, do we reset the match?
Reset the match, reset the mentality, and reset the operator.
Reset resets.
It's a bit of a change. We've now pulled, obviously, away from the Goyo hold. We've entirely removed the chance of the Echo drone as well, and instead, back to the smoke.
also to the castle, which I don't know how much that's going to affect Liquid, because Polu on Sledge, that's a duo. You know, we talk about duos in the scene. That right there, that's the favorite.
Yeah, it's a classic sort of setup, and I guess they're going to see if they can buy themselves a little bit more time, because for me, the kills that came through was Ness got to an aggressive position and then got aggressive. He lent into the holes that were opened by Rogue as that stretch, and Castle is the little bit of a breakdown there. Okay, you might still have those extensions coming out of Freezer. You might still have those watches across that vault, which they do, but now you have the castles and the Aruni gates on Cigar, so we cannot have a player just get in, just drop down red, and just run into there without some counter.
This will definitely force Liquid into the windows. It'll force them onto the repels, like I said. More than likely, we're going to see Polu straight up, rip open the castle barricade. You're probably looking at the double castle barricade over towards Cigar Shop. They have another answer to that. They have the Sophia. Very strong operator. Sure, maybe not as good as what she used to be because of the sheer fragging power, where that M7 took a bit of a nerf, but still the gadget intact. You have 4 burns, you can burn the Aruna Gate and then just open up with the other impact if you need to, so that really shouldn't be an issue. Liquid have all the tools at their disposal. How are they going to use them? That's the main question. Everything seems to be open for them now, so they can get onto the rappel and they can finally start pressuring in towards the player inside a Cigar Shop. That's who they need to eliminate first.
Well, Rips was playing that a little bit more aggressive, but has pulled away, dropped the hatch, and gone to a slightly different location. Crime was on a roam before, but he was also the last remaining person, which at that point generally means that it hasn't quite worked. You weren't able to flank yourself into a fight. You weren't able to find any success in just slowing down the approach of the team either. They are able to just sort of coalesce themselves inside the site, and as you said, Cigar is this next point of inference. They have a lot of utility there. A shield to be dedicated alongside all the ADS with the Aruna Gate, with the castle. This is what they're trying to do. Take away that confidence to get aggro.
Down goes the castle barricade. Forces out. Leon now has to take a bit of a backseat position, and he's pretty much stuck, isn't he? Oh no, he's prepped the castle barricade for himself, and out he pops back to the safety of his team. Nesk, though, will get the opening pick. Down goes Prano. That's the castle off the board. I mean, suppose castle, his use was already up, wasn't it? Doesn't really have any C4s, no nothing really that he could have utilized in the kind of late stages of this round.
Dedicates himself to the cause of putting up big solid doors and windows sometimes, and at that point you've only really got the imp, and you're going to see if you can make any connections with it. Saw some legs, didn't swing for them though. Palu is just sort of waiting to see if he can strike at the right time. He doesn't want to overextend. They know he's there, but he's waiting for the rest of Liquid to get into a position where he can be there and be a little bit more destructive.
Yeah, that's a great point, Fluke. You think about Sledge in this scenario, he doesn't need to go chase for kills. He has to stop just anyone pushing down white corner. That's the whole point of why he's there, and he will get a nade kill. Down goes Cryonesk, also up with the nade, right down the white stairs. However, Rips has dodged that one, and back up he goes. No nades now from Ness. That's a bit of a worry. He can actually clear this position too safely, and with 10 seconds to go, Rogue need to try and stop this onslaught. Quick jump out, but Ness is there. Resets with another now, 1 versus 4. Hold on to Leon. He's in the clutch to Diffuser's call, but Ness shuts him down. A little bit scratchier from Liquid, but still the round goes their way.
I mean, Nesk over the past 2 rounds, I think he's on 6 kills across maybe 7.
Telling you, Palu and Nesk, this is it.
It's just terrifying. 7 kills, 2 rounds. And it's the pace that he has set for about 4 years now.
How does he keep going?
I don't know.
How does he keep going?
And he's a father. There's so much energy.
As soon as you become a dad, that's it. Gaming potential. All dads out there, you're no longer allowed to game.
No, I just think it's more impressive. My brother has a young kid and no energy. I don't know. It's for me, it's unfathomable. I have barely any energy. Anyway, no kids. How they can perform.
He just wants it more. Mindset.
Wants it more.
That's it.
Mindset, grindset. 2-0. Liquid have come off that previous map, and we sort of talked about it a bit of what do Rogue need to take away from a loss on Oregon, and for me it was OT, because they needed that confidence that they could put some pressure onto Liquid. They had only really suffered pressure the whole time. Liquid were much quicker to warm up into this engagement, and now they have come off the back of that much hotter. It is sort of dangerous, very blinding, the pace that they're just throwing themselves into these engagements and across the map.
It's so impressive the fact that they've won 2 attacks and, in my opinion, arguably the most defender-sided top floor. It's so difficult to burn through so much stuff. You know, you mentioned about it. It's a big old task, and one mistake really ruins the entire environment for that top floor. If one person gets killed who has utility, that's it. It's over. But Liquid, 2 in a row. Very impressive. Rogue, changing things up. In towards the mid floor they go, albeit doesn't really change how defense play. It's still very orientated towards the top floor. It's still got that layers where you have to burn through a lot of utility. It's most of the same. So I think Liquid will attack this the exact same principle.
Are they going to catch him? There's the first, there's the rip, there's the release. There's the explosion. No! Did so much damage, but a little bit of a hesitant moment and a little bit of a step back as he hit the hammer down, and well, it saved his life, though its vision is probably a lot more blurry with all the shrapnel that's come off the hatch there. Cryan pulls himself back to the back line, and there's still a bit of a crossfire here, hoping to catch anybody that tried to pick up the pieces on the Mozzie, but no dice. As we said, when they don't need to push, Liquid, when they're calm as they are now, don't. They're happy to allow the rest of the players to get into positions to make sure that when it does have to come together, there is the support and a plan B in place.
A lot of utility being used. You can hear the drones go off, exploding anything that PSK can get his hands on. But have certainly slowed down just a tad from Liquid. Looks as if maybe, Fluke, they're opting to move in towards that mid floor, maybe towards mining, and then finally in towards fireplace. Or maybe Nesk, he just wants to get some kills and wants to be in the thick of it, which certainly can work. Many a times we've seen somebody just walk into the bomb site and just pick up kill after kill. It happens, so I hope Rogue is ready for that, and it certainly looks as if the fireplace is going to be the option for them. They've opened up a wall now, and that gives them the entrance in. It really comes down to see how Ask wants to enter, because he has a diffuser. He's the one who wants to try and get that plant down. All pressure relies on him.
Oasis is really aggressively trying to step back in, hoped that he would catch a player by themselves, but the cover comes through. Rips. One more on the top floor means that they can retake all of that hold above train, and that's a big blow of concern for Liquid. They've got to now retake the retake. They've got to see if they can try and apply some pressure here, but 30 seconds. Uh-oh. And those alarms are going to start blaring because you still need to try and make a bit of ingress onto the site. Palu with a big rotation and Nesk on the bottom of the white stairs means that they're going to see if they can potentially pinch reading. Or they might just try and get gifted by a kill, but caught on camera, you're going to have to try and pull yourself elsewhere. There's 2 kills.
Oh, Nesk.
Nesk catches them on the rotation, hoping to see if somebody was repelling. 15 seconds. They're going to see if they can still try and connect those dots, and Prana with a C4 might be the one to try and pull them apart. Just slips past. But without that diffuser inside the site itself, the connection can't quite come through. The C4 over the top, and it's dropped down onto the backside and rips. He's able to make the connection.
Rogue causing chaos. That's exactly what they needed to do. The attack Liquid went for, it's actually something very new that we're starting to experience. Teams rotating away from the more standard, let's blitz in towards the top floor, try and plan in towards reading, utilize the verticality. Now we're seeing teams adapt a kind of soft clear. Similar to what we've seen on Oregon from Liquid, where, you know, remember the downstairs where they would only take a minimal amount of stuff and then maybe just try and hold a flank? Exact same principle. It all revolves around trying to plan in towards fireplace. You take piano, you take top red. That gives you your breach. That's where you want to try and enter in from. Then you look towards mining, and then you look towards fireplace. That's where you want to try and plant. Naturally, if you're inside a fireplace, every defender's think, oh, I could go to the hatch and kill them. Because obviously the hatch inside a piano looks down in towards train. But then Liquid leave one person upstairs to make sure that doesn't happen. Rogue understood that very, very well. 3 people went upstairs to find that one single player. And because they lost that upstairs pressure, a bit of panic set in. Didn't a bit of panic from Liquid. They didn't really want to go for the fireplace. They then started wrapping around. You know, Ask, he entered in from the corner, didn't come in for the fireplace, entered in somewhere else. So this is what we kind of mentioned with Rogue and Oregon, is they need to create chaos for Liquid. They don't let them set up. And they've done that. Very impressive from Rogue.
So they're still not going to go back to bar. They still do not trust the hold that they're going to do, but they also don't trust their kitchen. And I guess we'll only really get a taste of which one they trust more when we find ourselves after this round, if it's a success. If it's something that Rogue can build behind and put themselves back level pegging, they'll have no choice to take one of those 2 remaining sites. Liquid, they've suffered a little. And it was suffered because, as you said, the brilliance of Rogue going for the rotation. Retaking, putting pressure onto that ever-present sixth man. Time itself, it was a blow, and it was just one misconnection of the two remaining players split across each other from Zulu on the far side. Hey, remember that C4? Palu sure does, and he's playing it much more cautious than he was before, baiting the swings out to make sure he's not going to suffer a similar fate.
It's a weird choice of a bomb snipe, I have to say, from Rogue. If you look at how Liquid attacked the last round, what I just kind of went in that big spiel for, that's basically what they can do again. They can rinse and repeat that, except they can now plant and mining, which was an area that was very easily taken by Liquid. So all Liquid need to do is, once again, clear piano, clear top red, and that's them theoretically home and dry, because then nothing can really stop them from getting a plant down, apart from a big heavy retake again from Rogue, which I'm sure they're probably trying to bank on.
That's it. And I think you can see Rogue is sort of setting up for this. They're putting a little bit of food for thought into the mouths of Liquid. They're sort of having bits of scrappy firefights, but Liquid don't always fall for that. Palu, once again, on the windows that he's kept so stoically throughout this, is just going to hold off, catch the rotate. And as you said, they're clearing space for now. They're making sure they can have the crossfire, and with the body already in Cigar, they're more than happy to take over that piano. It's theirs, but it's only theirs for now. And that's the game and the awareness. They're trying to see if they can put the pressure now onto the players on the rest of the top floor. They want to lean in. They're not going to just trust that they have Rogue under control. They're going to ensure it.
So Rogue just waiting, I think just biding their time, aren't they? Let's see what they want to go for. And Reps is going to look for an opening. Does he know that player's right beside him? I'm not too sure. Goes for another swing. Oh, it's Nesca. Of everyone that you want to challenge, that's not who you want. That is the last contender that you want to try and swing into. So Rogue, that retake hasn't worked for them. Now they're a man down, and Liquid, they have what they want. They have the upstairs control. Now it's just about finishing off the plan.
I mean, Nesk is just having another game, and it is so terrifying. This looks like it's about to be a take on the player in the close corner, but it goes deep, actually. Buys them a little bit more of a chance, drops the castle on the far side, and now it gives them a more of a swing. It's going to be burnt out round in the close corners, hopped through, but doesn't quite get the reveal on Aces, who is playing this so silently. The mute jams mean that, well, he's only going to be caught from far away, but there's one either side of him in only 10 seconds. Hopped in, dropped down, one more. An important double with a bit of cover coming from the opposite side. Palu taken care of, leaving just PSK on the second story, but no time. It's 2 for 2.
Aces just waiting. The patience. Liquid knew he was there, because as soon as I seen the clone come in from Nesk, the clone straight away looked to the left. Obviously, it kind of got mute jammed before that, but I still kind of seen the outline. But at that scenario, being able to swing in, it's not going to work against that SMG-11. I'm a little bit confused. If they knew he was there, which it was obvious, they knew exactly where he was. Upstairs, why do you not just open above him? That's what you're going for. Why is that not an option?
I guess it's one of those conversations, is we can only ever assume what they knew and what they trusted. And they seem to have an idea. They swung in. He led in with an engagement, but they'd also just used a grenade to open the castle just before. They had time to open above as well, because they had more than enough control to do it, and they had the operators still in play. You could just spray through at that point, and, you know, worst case scenario, you don't get the kill, but you force them out of the play, where you have 2 players of your own on the window, more than ready to finish that fight. It's a missed opportunity, but it's 2 for 2, and it's Rogue heading back up to bar. 2 rounds, 2 holes that were very different. We're onto a third that's sort of a culmination of both, with a Rooney and Echo on the board. No smoke, no castle. What is finally going to be the one that serves them up a delicious recipe?
Yeah, Liquid will be happy to see this bomb site be played again. And Liquid haven't really made too many changes to their lineup. Again, I think probably expecting that top floor. Obviously, resets is going to play a big part. That's Sophia. Just the burn you get, being able to have that soft, just that bit of soft breach is great. And I think kind of the soft breach that you get from a distance, you know, Sophia and Ash, 2 operators that are not played as often. Generally, you know, you think of soft breach, you would think, oh, that's going to be used to clear away shields, positions, whatever it is. But still, if you open up a soft wall, create your safe angle, I think obviously castle barricades are going to be a big thing. It's going to be a good pickup. Very, very solid.
To the top. Liquid, once again, find a slow creep And I think one of the things that we've seen over the previous 2 rounds is time is still an issue for them. It's still a bit of a pressing concern, and at least with this site, although we can sort of cite how the classic take is top down regardless of whatever one you're pushing on, this is a much more immediate resolution to when that is the start of your approach. This is one where, to be fair, you can look down the stairs from above. You don't have to go on a massively deep clear, which, you know, that brings that element of time back into their favor, back in to the guns that they have equipped and ready to try and put the pressure on. Cryan is in this flank position. It's tried twice, neither time has really had the big effect.
Cryan hasn't been the greatest this series, but maybe this could be his round, his chance to step up for his team. Right now, he's lurking on the red stairs. I think just waiting maybe for a drop, maybe looking for a challenge. Bit risky. And this is generally an area that you don't want to try and be walking up to. Big hatch above him. But right now, Liquid happy enough to set themselves up. The window play, that's going to come in again and fluke. That's what they're after. And what, an echo on the bottom floor?
Having an amble.
Worrying, but okay. Down goes Leon. And there's Nesk again.
10 kills. Nesk, 10 kills, 1 death. And he's going to see if he can keep stacking that up. We are still only 4 rounds in to this engagement. Swings his way through, is able to just slip to the speaker and takes care of an echo drone on the way past. Now, with Palu taking a little bit of damage, they've still opened some space. The ex-Kairos, they're not being dropped at the minute, and that keeps this player in secret, but Aces is doing very important work here. Pops round to swing onto one. Prano's dug in for the next, and there's resets, at least stopping a flood. Rips is down at the bottom of the stairs, finished off by the pickup of the grenade there of Palu, who was watching and waiting, but him still outside means that he's got to see if he can reconvene, and do they know that Prano is there? That is the big question.
Oh, doesn't look as if they do, because somebody's going to crouch right into a sight line. However, the information, obviously, of him getting that kill will alert the other 2 players off Liquid, but the other 2 players are on opposite ends of the building right now, but Paulu will win his engagement. That could have gotten very bad, because Liquid essentially were relying on 1 versus 1s, and then you're basically giving him a chance to win that round. Very fortunate that Paulu had the timing on him and wasn't looking the right way.
Okay, can they pull themselves level? Reading room. And the question I have is, Liquid, have you learnt the lesson of time management? Has somebody brought you a watch? Because that is where things are falling apart. You just need a little bit more of that sharpness in terms of playing towards the objective, because your control has been great when you only have to deal with 1 flaw. As soon as the element of a second seems to be introduced, you suddenly lose so much of that confidence.
Again, comes back to that Liquid where if things don't go perfect, they stop. You know, they stall more than I did in my first driving lesson. That's the facts of it. But I still think that they've shown that progress from where they were, you know, many months ago with the 2 new players. You know, asking resets, it gives them that potential. You look at Aces who causing issues. Who stepped up? Resets. He knew he had to get that kill.
I think that's always the important part of those 2 players as well, and what they brought to the roster, because stepping in to anyone's boots is never going to be easy.
Especially the pedigree of Sexy K and Moringa.
Exactly. Stepping into the boots of Sexy K and Moringa is just... It's not that it puts a target on your back, but it puts a lot of expectation. It gives you a lot that you have to sort of live up to, and whether you feel that pressure or not, you feel that pressure. And you shouldn't, because it's an unfair pressure to put on you, especially when you're a developing young player, as Liquid has very adamantly highlighted. We're bringing them into our mentality. They're getting there. It's a tournament of growth for Liquid. But still, they're growing very well.
Yeah. I think obviously a lot of people are going to be thinking, oh, maybe Liquid, you know, they were runners-up last time. Can they do it? I still think that they need more time. Because expecting 2 big roster changes and then to go and win Six Invitational in the space of, what, 4 or 5 months?
Yeah.
You then have to start being realistic, don't you?
Well, I think that's the idea of their realism as well. I think they're in this business, sure, they've been able to develop some good swings with these 2 players, but they know what they're up against.
I mean,
because
it still could happen. Like, if Nesk and Paulu have anything to say, there's nothing stopping them to tearing their way for everyone they play against this tournament.
But they always know what they're up against, because a lot of their country's compatriots, a lot of their regular sessions of play are against major champions, world champions. They come from
That's
a pedigree.
Very, very true.
At the minute.
True, yeah.
And that is a trial by fire. They're happy to develop in this tournament, but they also have those realistic expectations of we frequently have to play against statistically the best in the world.
Ooh,
and it
rips.
starts by taking the head off Rips.
Got his head ripped off, didn't he? And, I mean, at this stage for Rogue, it looks as if they're trying out new stuff. Like, we're seeing a Pulse come in of all operators for Kafe.
I learned a fun fact about Pulse.
Go for it.
It's the original writer. He's written as a dad joke. Then they made him, all of his lines are apparently really flirty. He's like, because they wanted to make him a heartthrob.
Because he can see people's hearts because he has a cardiac scan.
Exactly. So that's why he's flirty. He's this bisexual Lothario of just flirting with everybody because he's a heartthrob because of a joke. But a joke is not in the guns of the approach here. Swings round, finds one across the top of white, but they're trying to retake it. And the battle goes into his favor once again. There's one more. There's a grenade over the top, takes the drop and gets out of there. Clean washed. And there is the Heartbreaker himself, ready to read all that intel.
It's a big round now for Liquid because they've been stunned. Aces is really the saving grace right now for Rogue. Has played well over the past two maps, and Liquid really struggling against them. Prano still, you know, with the Pulse can still feed this information. If Cryan has been misthrown, which yes, he definitely has been misthrown. No idea from Liquid. Oh, Cryan stands up, does not get the kill on the Palu, and then he gets shut down. Cryan, what has happened to him? I don't know if it's going to matter though, because Aces is still on a tear, a triple kill for him. 10 seconds to go, and Liquid backs up against the wall. Ash tries to slip his way in, but he gets asked to walk back out on Palu. He survived that first engagement against Cryan, but will not win it this time. Oh, that was close, and another worrying sign for Rogue there.
3 for 3, all of them on the same site for Liquid, all their successes on the same site, and arguably 3 of their losses all down to time. It really was, even though that last one, they did get dropped by the end of it, you're thinking of when things started to actually come together. 15 seconds, 20 seconds left on the clock. They couldn't quite work it out. Now they have the benefit of that is on their favor. They have the chance to try and work alongside that to see if they can get a full stretch and have that confidence that they don't have to set the pace of the objective play.
Side switch. Liquid now onto the defense. Keep in mind, this is supposed to be a defender-sided map, Fluke. So, and whenever I say defender-sided, like 5-1 is, it's not uncommon to see a 5-1 split for defense. And the fact that Liquid got free attacks is going to help them so much. So all pressure on Rogue. Liquid, they have the easier half, and Rogue, they have to step up. This is who will be grilling if things do not go well for them.
This is it. This is their half. This is their chance to try and develop the game here. And as I said, sometimes EU on Kafe has a little bit of a defensive habit where things get a little bit too defensive on the lock-in. But I do quite like their attacks. I think they have a lot of sharp teams, and that's something that if I'm going to talk about how Liquid set their expectations based on the teams that they play with, it's exactly the same for any team. And that is one of those things that you always have to take into consideration. Even if a team isn't statistically always great on a map or always sort of slipping on a map, you are prepping on it, as I was sort of highlighting in Oregon here. Rogue, they can be a great attacking team, but it's down to the connections and the lessons that they've learned, and it's now sort of the time to wave that flag and say, this is how we can set it.
Gridlock comes in, I'm sure probably being the replacement to Liquid's Nomad ban, which is a bit of a classic one as well. Liquid, they are not afraid of banning Nomads. They want to get out and about. I think obviously it's going to favor some of their roamers, any long rotates they want to go for. And, you know, they did some of those in Oregon, so you could definitely understand that they want to try and abuse that even more. And on a map where you have a lot of windows and a lot of jump outs, yeah, it makes a lot more sense to go for that Nomad ban. So Rogue just having that security, being able to cover off their flanks if needed to. And also you get the smokes, which is a good added bonus.
They're looking to see if they can get some solidity over the balconies at this point. They have a flood of drones making their way over the piano and seeing if they can at least pull some of the tunes out of the players of Liquid. But there's no immediacy. The soft wall there gives them a free rotate here, which for EU isn't the most common thing to be handed, but it is down to the tests put before you. What is your prep? Palu's causing a bit of a ruckus in a bakery and is going to sort of give them some of that idea of they're playing there on their own, but to be fair, you always expected it.
Bit of a dump there from the Sophia. Probably sketching out if there is any ADSs lurking for the long bar. So that's going to help along a lot if you're the gridlock where you have those smokes. You know straight away, okay, I can throw my smokes down through Skylight for absolutely free. There's nothing's going to stop me. So that's good information right off the rip for Rogue. And Cryan's got himself into a good position to open up an actual entranceway into the bomb site. Liam with the opening pick. This is starting to formulate a nice looking attack from Rogue.
Palu creeping his way up brown stairs could be a big problem here, though. If he goes unchecked, he's going to be able to pick up a lot of damage. They obviously have the gridlocks. The soft on the door means he can't get a clear rotate up the stairs itself anyway, but to be fair, causing noise is sometimes detrimental. Pulls their attention away, gives them a little bit more to think about. A deep dive right all the way across, but it's Arse that gets the opener. They cannot quite get the full lock-in, so it's the hot hop on the new window. There it is. Prano's going for the stick right in the mix of the site. They can't quite get the angle that they want, and under the cover of the darkness, well, all is illuminated when that new 45 pops onto the top of the board. Palu, he's going to have to try and rotate his way back up as resets. He's concerned about a Skylight that, well, he shouldn't be concerned about because the kills can come from anyway. There's Palu trying to get a connection and a bit of revenge for the remaining players, but otherwise with only a sliver of HP and not much more time than that, he's going to see if he can pull off a rotate. There's a man lying down in the bathroom, and it's Rips to lock it out.
Solid from Rogue. I love the fact that they used the Sophia to check for any ADSs. They fired them through, they seen that nothing was there at all for the long bar, and straight in with a Skylight. That's what they were after, and they really abused it well. And this is probably where now we're starting to look at Rogue and we understand why that Wamai is being banned out. If you think about the Sophia, you really don't know what you're going up against, because you could dump in all those Sophia charges and all of a sudden 2 Wamai discs get tossed out by the Wamai in the back pocket. So yeah, strong ban from Rogue, and they're starting to play with that ban up.
Bar and cocktail. Well, if you're going to double down on a site, we're going to do the same. But the difference here, the little asterisks I'm going to throw onto the board, is that when Liquid were doing this, they were winning. When they were having to adapt their defense on the previous map, it sort of came in the loss-win schedule. And I guess we'll see if those lessons learned are ones that can keep playing. Or, on the flip side of that, if that's something that Rogue is also familiar with. We got away with it once, but last time we tried to do the same adaptation, they locked us off. So let's see if we can grow into a slightly different approach. Do you see if you can try and find something else to put into the lock and open it up, or are you going to hope that the same key is one that hasn't quite been broken and cracked by Liquid here? Similar extensions, similar play. I guess my curiosities might be on Palu. Is he going to try and cause a little bit more of a ruckus earlier on, or is he going to see if he can, I guess, be a slightly different position?
I would like to see Liquid maybe try and abuse the C4s, because it's something that I think has kind of been forgotten about for the top floor attack. Is there's a lot of vertical destruction for that long bar. Anywhere that a team would realistically want to plant, you can C4 it from below. So it's always going to be a good pickup. And I think as time's gotten on, I think a lot more players have kind of adapted to, you know, bulletproofs have kind of come in. Obviously, shields are going to be there. And there isn't much room to really fit in C4 operators. You know, you look at the 5 that Liquid have brought, only Mute can be there. You understand why the other 4 have been brought. Obviously, Smoke's always going to be a go-to. Jaeger, because no Wamai. PSK and the Aruni, that's kind of like the substitute, isn't it? As a Wamai, it's a bit of a soft. I know it's not the same as Wamai, but still, it burns something. That's literally what Wamai does. And then you have the Melusi to stop anyone just crouch walking in, because like I said, it's a big bomb site, isn't it?
I think that's entirely it. Is you always have to take the width of this site into consideration. There's not too many sites across the entirety of the game that just has that big space.
It's almost the entire floor. I would say at least, what, 70% of the floor is the bomb site.
Exactly. And that's something where there's not too many operators built into any meta, let alone in general, that you can sort of have consistency with on this site, because that positioning game isn't just so much of getting your lineup and your location in the right place, but also adapting. And there's a big adaptation. Big blows open up with Rips at least battling back, but suddenly it all floods away from them. Leon swings in, but not for very long. Liquid said they learn lessons. Oh boy, they learn them quick.
Good adaptation from Liquid. Entirely ready for everything that happened. The Skylight drop comes in, was shut down immediately. I don't even think the Skylight player touched the ground. That's how ready Liquid were. So yeah, great adaptation. Now that levels things up, 4 rounds apiece. That means Liquid, though, they have to go somewhere else. They cannot go to the top floor, and they look as if they're going to be headed to the mid floor. Not the reading, though, into the mining. We've seen Rogue here once, and they won at that bomb site, so maybe this is the new meta. Generally, this is seen as the 4th pick, isn't it?
I think it's the weird thing about Fireplace is the way that we've seen Kafe change. Once upon a time, it was bar, then it was kitchen, and then it was sort of whatever you could make.
Remember old Kafe with the free bomb site choice and kitchen bomb site was...
Classic.
Jump in a window and plant in a matter of 2 seconds and you can't stop it.
The good thing about Kafe is it had a great rework. I think out of the reworks that have come through, it's definitely up there. And it has also changed face with the meta. As the meta changed, and as we moved away from that shield meta, that 20-second meta that everybody had opinions on, this, for me, was the map that defined it. Because you look at Pixel, you look at that gosh dang shield that is a Goyo, and you remember how many minutes we spent staring at it.
It does feel as though it is the map, though, stuck in time. Because it hasn't really changed from that 20-second meta at all, Fluke. If you really think about how the bomb sites play out, it is still very slow, and you don't really get the plant down. That happened in the 20-second meta. Very rare you'd get a plant down.
Yep.
I still think that Kafe, it's still that same playstyle, but I think it's because this is like the only one where it has that. You can prep for that a lot easier, can't you? Because you know, okay, this is this map. I know what mindset I need to be in to play this one.
30 seconds gone. And still some steady approach here. Leon's getting an idea of what the site is. There's a man inside a train dug in on the far side. But to be fair, you long-arm that dining room. It's nothing that you can sit in with any comfort or security because there's so many ways. And
big old window.
Oh, yeah. It's just nothing comfortable about it. So you want to set up around it. You want to make sure that it turns into a little bit of space where at least you've got some of your eyes and ideas across it. There's a fight that's going to happen on towards Pillar and the Christmas doorway, but otherwise Palu is just actually pulling away there. He has himself a rotate onto the locked-in double wall, and he takes the first fight, but Aces has been so good for Rogue today.
He has been. He's been the person who's just grabbed the bull by the horns and dragged it right into the ground. It's really stopped, I feel, Liquid running away with a big scoreline, isn't it? He's really been able to stop them. And Liquid with momentum, we know what damage they can do. So Aces to be able to battle back and keep them contained, yeah, he's done wonderful today. And we'll see if he can keep it up. So Rogue, they have this man advantage. They're starting now to look to clear out other positions. I think they have a bit of a suspicion where you would expect regulars to play. One guy inside a train. They know that Radiant's going to be an area that Liquid are after. So I think that's probably what they're after next. That's where they want to go.
And that's it. And you can see them stacked up there on that door with the Christmas tree, but the only decoration in a second might be the blood of a player that goes for the swing. They're still set up and ready to see if they can take the fight there. Nesk, and he's actually going to rotate and root himself back and forth between the holes that Palu made previously, but didn't quite have the same success on. PSK's above, gives him some solidity and safety, but as soon as one of those two players goes out, it's going to have to change the way that they're facing up against this fight. Crying's the next to go down, though, but look at this. They've flooded themselves on towards the bomb chassis. They're going to see if they can push the fight on the train. They know there's a player in there, and there's the fight that goes through against them. Resets, hits the ground, but in the meantime, there's work being done on Ask on the far side. They're not going to get the pickup, but they've done enough to drop the players in the site itself now. A final connection, but Ask, we wanted him to step into this fight, and there he is. Blow after blow, 5-4.
Big round from Ask, comes in. Liquid holding firm. Even after losing that opening engagement, and able to really rally and figure out what Rogue are up to. Yeah, well done to Liquid, and just that little twinkle where they see that opportunity, and they take it.
I think that's the thing there as well, is Rogue had an idea, and they suddenly started to implement it. But they got a bit blanket onto the kill inside train.
They weren't decisive enough with their idea because they kind of got tunnel vision.
Yes.
Whereas Liquid, they knew what Rogue were going for. Straight in, they know exactly how to set up. Everyone had their plan. Everyone knew what route they needed to go to, and you have that collapse.
Kitchen service. And Liquid have once again been able to take the lead, something they haven't had in a couple of rounds, but Rogue have been able to tie a couple together too, and this is the site that we haven't actually seen today so far. So
yeah, for good reason. Kitchen is... Ooh, it's a tough bomb site to defend. The fact that you're dealing with a bomb site that is vertically challenged,
yeah,
like some members of the talent lineup, Dez, primarily, is what we're going after.
Primarily Dez.
Yep.
But there's a handful.
Yes. Just Dez. I just want to go for Dez.
Okay.
I mean, unless you call Ollie vertically challenged, but then...
No, I don't think...
Because he's just tall.
Yeah.
And then so is Dev Martin, so is Jacob.
Says,
A lot of heights in this year.
I mean, there's also Anne and Jess are very short.
Not on broadcast, 'cause they stand on the box. Oh,
They
I'm
do.
I've ruined the magic. Oh no.
Well, no, actually, it's sofas. That's why they're sat down.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So they can see.
But back to the point. Vertical action is horrific for the defense because you can't sit anywhere that's safe.
No.
And that's very, very difficult for a lot of defenders, and I think attackers, you automatically look at this and you think, yep, we can abuse from above. There's a hatch as well that drops you right into the heart of the bomb site. That's going to be very good use if you're the attack. And that kind of has led to defenders have to defend VIP and restaurant a lot more. Like, you look at the actual bomb site, there's like maybe 1 or 2 players scattered around. Everyone else are towards the site we're seeing right now, over towards restaurant, over towards VIP. And Rogue are ready for the challenge. They're actually going to try and go for the clear out.
Talking of, there's a bit of clarity. Cooked by a grenade, bounced onto PSK. That gives them a little bit more confidence to swing onto this. Why the smoke was in that position to waste time? Why Nest in that position to do that? Refrag, get a bit of balance back into their favor and resets the round itself. Puts them a man advantage and makes sure that they can keep this momentum going. Prano, Rips, and Ace is all that's left now. They've been able to get some control here over the entrance, but with the body just swung around onto that coat check, reloading with audio, Palu's sort of saying, hey man, come get me. And it's not an easy fight to take when he has the angle. It's up, it's down, it's all over the shop, so instead they're going to pick up drones and see if they can try and relocate where that player in the coat check is.
So Rogue, I mean, stunned now. 2 players down, and Liquid have that advantage. Sure, they have their VIP and restaurant control, but at what cost at this stage, Flug? You know, they've suffered many casualties for that, and they really need to get their heads wrapped around about what they want to do. The fact that Rips is just gridlocked off Coat, it kind of leads me to believe that they are maybe going to try and double up, triple up towards Freezer, and just hope that that gridlock's enough. And yeah, straight away, Rips, he's actually going to leave that position alongside Aces. This screams they don't know what they want to do. It screams a little bit desperation. Whenever you see people start to full sprint to the other side of the map with about 40 seconds to go, it's always a worrying sign, and you wonder, do they have enough time?
Not just full sprint caught on 2 defaults that they hadn't dropped down, which just proves the point of this is not even a plan B, it's plan C at this point, and hoping they can try and pull some success out of everything being taken away from their sails. 20 seconds, a slow creep up a corridor. You assume there'll be a swing from the small bake on the opposite side at some point. There's only so long you can sit in this position with that huge beam of a corridor down. There it is. And I talk for it. Palu's able to get one more on the split side. It's Ask down, buried, waiting for Prano to open on the main door, but it's Palu with the lock off, and Liquid with another map point.
So Rogue, the initial plan of trying to take in VIP and restaurant, yes, they did that, but they lost too many players then to really carry out that effective push, moving in towards Freezer, moving in towards that double door, looking in towards Kitchen. So overall for Rogue, they didn't have that contingencies plan of, okay, if this goes wrong, what do we do? What's the follow-up idea? And they just, yeah, we've seen the full sprint, we've seen the rotates, and it just looked as if, okay, we'll try that. We don't know if it's going to work, and unfortunately, it didn't work for them.
Take time out and a moment to have a bit of a conversation because, well, this game hasn't gone the way of Rogue. There's no 2 ways about it. And obviously, they're still only 2 rounds away from pulling an OT, and then, well, they're only 2 rounds away from running the map, but at this point, with the energy that's being put across, it seems unlikely. Throw your minds back. At the very beginning of the series, the thing that I highlighted was 2 players on either team. Palu and Nesk on Liquid, and Aces on Leon on the other. You did also add in Cryan on there, but I think, if anything, that just cements the point. What we're seeing is not a balance between those forces of gun skill and aggression. Leon hasn't been able to connect at all today. Cryan hasn't connected at all on this map. Had some showing on Oregon, and Aces has been good on both. Look on the other side, you're having those 2 players still pop off. And the other thing I said, that's down to the support structure underneath them. And sure, Prano and Rips are doing everything that they can, but without a little bit more firepower, they're not able to fully put it together. It's why we're having, on Liquid side, the lead-in from resets, the lead-in, obviously, from Ask as well, in the way that PSK can keep playing that game.
Entry, in my mind, is the most difficult position to play, because how much of the round relies on you winning that opening engagement? Because that can either tell if your team's going to struggle or your team's going to breeze through the round. That's a lot on the shoulders of the entries. So you have to be able to do that consistently. You have to do that. And yeah, Leon, bad day at the office. Crying, very bad day at the office for him. This, 0-9. You have to stay there. It's not good enough for if they want to go on and do well inside of their group. And Liquid, well, they're stepping up. You know, Nesk is there, Palu is there. This is what we expect from Liquid, and maybe not what we were expecting from Rogue.
That's the thing. Whenever you see two teams competing, you always have to match the sparks that you think are going to cause the biggest fights. And for me, it was that gun game. It was, how do you deal with a problem like Nesk and Palu? You've got to try and keep at least some pace with them, and unfortunately only really one Rogue player has been able to keep doing that. And it's not that they're not getting kills onto them, obviously they have deaths, but 12-4 and a 10-4 when you've only really got aces pulling a similar shift, it's just too big of a divide for then the support structure for the flex players to be able to, as you said, lean into that entry game that is so frequently being pulled away from the guns of Rogue. One body difference in a firefight makes all the world. In a game of eye for an eye, only somebody with one eye stays standing. Because they're the last one with an eye.
Of course.
I'm just making sure you got that.
I know that I'm not the smartest guy.
Oh, I know.
That everyone thinks, oh, it's just old demo. There he is.
Old demo. They don't think that.
That's true. I'm not
Baby
actually
demo.
old. So, top floor. Can this be decided right here and now for Liquid? 3 points clean would go very well for Liquid this evening, and I'm sure that's something that they want to try and push for, but job's not done yet. Still, only half the job is done. They need to be able to push and get all of those points. Only 1 point secured at the moment. Rogue, similar to how they attacked it last time, straight into piano. Liquid are happy enough to give them that, and again, this gridlock comes in, tries to shut down these flanks, and more than likely, we're going to see similar from Rogue, where they want to try and pressure that skylight.
They're just buying a few seconds. Being able to get into the bathroom quite quickly means that they can, I guess, try and offer some cross angles. Maybe hope that somebody slips all the way in. It entirely locked isn't the most common thing. You usually at least have an opening there, and that's why it's a bit of a freebie. But to be fair, that still means that White Corridor is a no man's land. There's too many places to swing on it. You obviously have Lumber, where a player is always going to be. You obviously have the chance of a rotate up White Stairs, which you need some confidence on. The smoke canisters are buying some time, but there's a step up, and there's Palu, who just heads out of a door, takes care of Leon, and finds himself gifted once again that entry statistic that we have once again cited as being so important.
So strong for them. And I mean, you figure Rogue always playing kind of in a 4v5, it's going to take a toll eventually, and it's going to be the straw that will break the camel's back, and that's exactly what's happening for Rogue. 5 versus 3 is where they stand, and they're dealing with Ask on planks with that shotgun. Oh, a quick peek. Crying goes down, and now at 2 versus 5, it looks as if the final nail is being swiftly dealt into the coffin of Rogue, and Liquid, well, they're the Undertakers. They take Kafe very convincingly, a flawless round to finish things off, and that's a good day at the office for Liquid. All 3 points.
A rough opener for Rogue. There's no